"That's $15 for the carnitas plate, ma'am," Miguel said, without looking up from his grill, treating the woman in designer sunglasses like any other customer on this sweltering Tuesday afternoon in downtown Austin. Julia Roberts pulled a 20 from her purse, her famous smile hidden behind oversized Ray-Bans, and handed it over to the weathered hands of the food truck owner who had no idea he was serving one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. The irony wasn't lost on her. After decades of being recognized everywhere she went, she'd finally found someone who saw her as just another hungry person craving authentic street tacos. If this story is already touching your heart, please help me with a like and subscribe. I'm building this channel with so much love and passion, working hard to reach my first 100 subscribers, and you can be part of this incredible beginning. You can be one of the first to join me on this journey, and trust me, you won't regret it. Your support means the world to me. The Corazon de Mexico food truck had been parked on the same corner of East 6th Street for 8 years, its red and green paint fading under the relentless Texas sun. Miguel Hernandez had bought it with his life savings after working construction for 15 years, dreaming of bringing his grandmother's recipes to the streets of Austin. He never expected that serving authentic Mexican food would barely keep him afloat, let alone attract Hollywood royalty. Julia had discovered the truck 3 weeks earlier while filming a small indie project in the city. She'd been exhausted from a particularly emotional scene. Her assistant had called in sick, and she found herself wandering the streets alone, a rare luxury in her highly managed life. The aroma of charred meat and fresh cilantro had drawn her like a magnet to Miguel's small window. "Your change, senora," Miguel said, counting out 5 crumpled dollar bills. His English carried the soft cadence of his native Michoacan, each word carefully chosen. He still didn't look directly at her face, focused instead on the sizzling meat that demanded his constant attention. "Keep it," Julia said, her voice warm but unremarkable to his ears. She'd perfected the art of vocal camouflage over the years, dropping the distinctive laugh and theatrical inflections that made her instantly recognizable. Miguel's eyes widened slightly at the generous tip, but he simply nodded his thanks. In his world, kindness from strangers was precious but not unprecedented. He'd learned that some people carried generosity in their hearts regardless of their circumstances. Julia found a small plastic table in the shade of a nearby oak tree, unwrapping her tacos, with the anticipation of someone discovering treasure. The first bite transported her. Tender carnitas perfectly seasoned with cumin and garlic, fresh onions providing a sharp counterpoint, and salsa verde that packed just enough heat to make her eyes water slightly behind her sunglasses. She watched Miguel work as she ate, noting the precise way he flipped the meat, the care he took with each order, the genuine smile he offered every customer regardless of their appearance or attitude. There was something beautiful about his dedication, a purity of purpose that reminded her why she'd fallen in love with acting in the first place, before the fame, the paparazzi, and the carefully constructed public persona. "Did you subscribe yet? Help me reach my first 100 subscribers. It would mean everything to me right now." A young mother approached the truck with 2 small children tugging at her dress. Julia could see the woman counting coins in her palm, her face tense with the arithmetic of tight budgets. Miguel must have noticed too, because when the woman ordered 2 kids' quesadillas and tried to pay exact change, he quietly added a small container of rice and beans to her order without charging extra. "For the little ones," he said simply, ruffling the hair of the youngest child who beamed up at him with gap-toothed delight. Julia felt something shift in her chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the Texas heat. She'd been in the public eye for over 3 decades, had experienced every form of recognition and adulation imaginable, yet sitting here anonymously watching this man's quiet kindness felt more meaningful than any standing ovation she'd ever received. Over the next 2 weeks, Julia became a regular. She'd arrive around 2 p.m. when the lunch rush died down, order the same carnitas plate, and sit at the same plastic table. She began to notice things. How Miguel always gave extra food to anyone who looked like they needed it. How he knew the names of his regular customers and asked about their families. How he cleaned his workspace with meticulous care despite the humble surroundings. She also noticed the stress lines around his eyes, the way his shoulders sagged slightly when he thought no one was looking. The lunch crowds weren't as big as they should be for food this good, and she overheard him on the phone one afternoon, speaking rapidly in Spanish to what sounded like a landlord or creditor. "Miguel," she said, one particularly quiet Tuesday, approaching the window after finishing her meal. She'd been practicing what to say, how to reveal herself without making it seem like charity or condescension. "Sí, señora. Was everything good today?" He was wiping down the counter, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across his weathered face. Julia took a deep breath and slowly removed her sunglasses. Everything was perfect, as always. Miguel looked up at her fully for the first time, his eyes moving across her features with growing recognition. His expression shifted from puzzlement to surprise to something approaching disbelief. The dish towel fell from his hands. "Dios mío," he whispered. You're Julia Roberts." She nodded, her smile gentle and unguarded in a way that few people ever got to see. "I am. And I've been coming here for 2 weeks because you make the best tacos in Austin, maybe in all of Texas." Miguel's face flushed red, and he started to stammer an apology. "Senora Roberts, I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize you. I should have. If I had known." "If you had known, you would have treated me differently," Julia interrupted gently. "And that's exactly why I didn't tell you. Miguel, do you know what you gave me these past 2 weeks?" He shook his head, still looking stunned. "You gave me something I haven't had in years. You saw me as just another person who was hungry. You didn't want anything from me except $15 for a plate of food. Do you have any idea how rare that is in my world? If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now's the perfect time. Help me reach my first 100 subscribers. We're so close." Miguel leaned against the counter, processing her words. But you're Julia Roberts. You could eat anywhere in the world." "I can," Julia agreed, "but I choose to eat here because your food comes from the heart, because you put love into every plate, because you give extra rice to mothers with hungry children, and you remember that Mr. Johnson likes his salsa extra spicy, and that Maria from the flower shop is trying to save money for her daughter's quinceañera." Tears welled up in Miguel's eyes. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Just keep being exactly who you are." Julia paused, then pulled out her phone. "But I do want to ask you something. Would you mind if I told people about this place, about your food?" Miguel's eyes widened. "You would do that?" "Miguel, the world needs to know about Corazón de Mexico. You're an artist, and this truck is your canvas. People should be lining up around the block for your abuela's recipes." That evening, Julia posted a simple photo on her Instagram, her hands holding one of Miguel's tacos, the food truck visible in the background. The caption read, "Sometimes the best meals aren't found in fancy restaurants. Sometimes they're made with love by a man who treats every customer like family. Austin, you need to discover Corazón de Mexico on East 6th Street. Miguel, gracias for feeding my soul." Within hours, the post had hundreds of thousands of likes and shares. By the next morning, there was a line of customers stretching 2 blocks from Miguel's truck. Food bloggers, local news crews, and hungry Austinites all wanted to taste what had captured Julia Roberts' heart. Miguel called Julia that afternoon, his voice thick with emotion. "Senora Roberts, I don't know how to thank you. The line hasn't stopped all day. I've already sold more food than I usually do in a week. You don't need to thank me, Miguel. I just told people the truth. Everything else is because of who you are and what you've built. But why? Why did you do this for me? Julia was quiet for a moment, sitting in her hotel room and looking out at the Austin skyline. Because, in a world where everyone wants something from me, you just wanted to give me good food, because you reminded me that kindness doesn't require recognition, and because sometimes the most famous person in the room is actually the one standing behind a food truck window, changing people's lives, one taco at a time. 6 months later, Miguel had opened a small restaurant, still serving the same recipes, but now able to employ his 2 sons and provide health insurance for his family. The food truck still operated on the same corner, now run by his nephew, who'd learned the family recipes. And sometimes, on quiet Tuesday afternoons, a woman in oversized sunglasses would still order the carnitas plate and sit at the same plastic table. Just another customer savoring something made with love. The last time Julia saw Miguel before leaving Austin, he handed her a small wrapped package. Inside was a handwritten recipe card, yellowed with age and covered in his grandmother's careful script. "For you," he said simply, "so you can take a piece of Corazon de Mexico wherever you go." Julia hugged him then. Right there on the busy street, 2 people from completely different worlds who had found something precious in the simple act of sharing a meal. And as she walked away, she realized that sometimes the greatest performances happen not on movie screens, but in the quiet moments when we choose to see each other as we really are. Just human beings, hungry for connection, kindness, and authentic tacos made with love. What do you think happened next? Do you believe that true kindness always comes back to us in unexpected ways? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories that will restore your faith in humanity.